What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm doing my dreaded visa renewal. This is something that I absolutely hate, and if there's one thing that bothers foreigners the most about living in Thailand is having to do the visa renewal every year. This is something that I wish that they would change. Like, perhaps if you've been here for a certain period of time, you've done the visa renewal maybe a couple of years in a row, and you'll still live in the same place, still married to the same people, still doing the same stuff, perhaps they should change it in which you will just have to redo it every 5 years or every 10 years, or maybe, you know, every other year would help. The issue with all this is that it just takes so much of your time, and it's just such a pain in the ass to get all those paperwork ready, that it just makes us feel like Thais or Thailand doesn't want us here. And it really hurts, because we really want to, like in my case, I really want to be here. I want to develop a business, have a family, build a life over here, pay taxes, see the country grow and grow with the country, and, you know, just grow old and enjoy life. And but the whole visa thing, it makes it put a damper on that whole, you know, that whole vibe, that whole thing of, you know, enjoying and being welcome and appreciating all the beauties and all the wonderful thing about Thailand, about its people, and about the culture. So that is my whole spiel on it. Since I'm going to go there and I have to do this, I thought would be a good time in which I can talk to you guys about what you will need to renew your marriage visa in Thailand. Hold on, I have to pass this car. Okay, we good. We good. We did it safely. So, before I can get to it, let me just tell you guys a little bit of a story of how I end up in Thailand. I've said in other vlogs that Thailand would not be my top pick had I had a choice. And truthfully, I think there would be other countries, maybe Vietnam, maybe Philippines. I don't know about the visa process over there, but from most people who I have talked to, they all agree that these other places are a little bit more welcoming to foreigners. It's a little bit less expensive, but in my case, since I'm here, I'm married to a Thai, and let me regress and let me tell you guys the story how I met my wife and how I end up here in Thailand before I go way off the left field. So, I was born in the small little island country in the middle of the Atlantic called Cape Verde Islands. And when I was 15, I moved to the United States, where I finished up high school, and I was going to college at the time. Then I realized that if I would continue and to finish up, I was studying architecture. If I was continue to finish up, I would end up with $60,000 to $80,000 in debt. And at the time, it just, you know, was just crazy amount of money, and I didn't think you could ever be able to pay it back. So, and I knew that the military was offering to pay your student loans and to pay for your schooling and everything else. So I walk into the recruiting office with the idea that, hey, I'm gonna join in. I joined the Air Force. I will have money for school, and then I would do my 4 years, and then I would get out, and I would have no bills basically. So I joined in the military, went in June 2003, and graduated basic training and graduated a technical school. Is that what it's called? Tech school. So after that, after tech school, I was stationed in Langley in Virginia, and I adapted very quickly to the whole military life. I had a great group of peers, a great group of supervisors and mentors that took me under their wing, and I adapted easy. Military life became kind of, came naturally to me, and I was fairly successful at it, and I raised up in rank very quick. And then, like, around 4 years came, I was really thinking about getting out, but this is one thing that the military always do. They offer me to go to Japan if I would re-up, if I would re-enlist. I also had a line for promotion, so I would be making more money, and living in Japan just sounded like a really good idea at the time. So I was like, you know what, let's re-up for another 4 years. And I got stationed in Okinawa in Japan, which Okinawa is part of the Ryukyu Islands, which was really good for me because I'm an island boy, and Okinawa is the biggest island in this archipelago, and it's actually closer to Taiwan than what it is to Japan. And the people over there are wonderful. They not fully Japanese, they're their own way. They're Okinawans, I guess, or Ryukyu Islanders. So they're a little bit different, and the place is incredibly beautiful. Great dive spots, beautiful beaches. The weather is nice. It would get a little bit cool in the winter, but not cold, and the summer is just wonderful. The only issue is that they will have the typhoons that goes by, 3-4 of them every year, but everything, you adjust to it. Everything is safe, and you adjust to the whole life over there, so it's not a big deal. So I was there for 4 years, and that's where I actually met my wife. At, I think, around the end of 2008, beginning 2009. I went with a group of friends of mine, a group of co-workers. We went to lunch at this Mexican restaurant, and my wife was working there. She was doing her internship. Here in Thailand, before you can graduate university, you have to do an internship, something related to your degree. And since she was learning Japanese, so she got to go to Japan to do her internship, and she was working at this restaurant that belongs to a friend of ours that have since passed away. So she was there working, and I kept looking at her because she looked a little bit different. She didn't look, at first I thought she was mixed between Japanese, and since that was a Mexican restaurant, maybe she was Japanese and Mexican mix. And so I kept looking at her, and I thought, she kept looking at me, and she gave me the eye, like, you guys know what I mean, what I said, like giving you the eye. So when I went to pay, I started talking to her, and I like, wow, she is beautiful, big smile, have like really nice, beautiful, like tan skin. I was like, yeah, I was very in love, very impressed with her. And so I went back that night again and talked to her a little bit more, kind of tried to ask her out, and she said no. She went out with me, or we went out a few times, but was just as friends, because by that time I was already on a relationship with someone else. And so we just stood friends for a little while, and eventually, push forward, maybe 6 months later, she came back to Thailand. We kept in touch through emails and sending each other message here and there. And eventually my relationship that I was on, eventually that got dissolved. You know, we broke up and stuff. And it was almost like it was fate, like the day after my relationship with this other person went south, and I was feeling the worst and I was really down. She sent me a message. I got a message from her, like talking to me, and she was all like extra sweet and like really beautiful message that she sent me. And I replied back. She replied right away, and then we kept on talking. We kept doing that for a little while, and I started to realize, like, yeah, she's a really good person. I really want to get to know her more, really want her to be part of my life. And we decided about, okay, let's take it a little bit, you know, one step forward. Let's be a little bit serious. But before we do that, I got tasked with a short notice deployment. So I was gone for about 8 months, and through that whole time we still talk through message and through talking on the phone, and things were getting a little bit serious by the minute. And then I came back, and the first thing that I did, I asked her to go meet up with me in Japan. And that's when we actually start dating and, you know, become a couple in a way. So she went meet up with me in Japan. We traveled around Japan for around 20 days. Then she came back over here. A few months later, I came back and spent time with her and spent time with her family. We actually got very good, in which, like, almost every other month, either she would go to Japan to go see me, or I would come over here to come see her. It was getting expensive, but, you know, it was all worth it in the end. And eventually came to the time in which my contract was over again, but they offer for me to, they give me a line for promotion and offer again to send me to northern Japan. And this time I would make it a little bit easier for me to come over here, because I could have just hopped to Korea, and then from Korea travel to Thailand. It was much cheaper. So I, instead of renew my contract, I just extended my contract for a couple of years. And so with that, had a couple of deployments from there as well. I went on a few other trips to for training and stuff. So eventually, me and my wife, then my girlfriend, we got serious about our whole relationship, and we decided that we were going to get married. But before we got married, we talked about what would be our plan. And it was going to come to the time in which I was getting ready to either there was three options for me. One, I could re-enlist or re-up my contract, but it would have to be a little bit different. The other one would be to get out, or take earlier retirement, which I opted for because at that time they wanted to, we were out of Iraq, the military, the United States were out of Iraq, and they wanted to scale down the number of troops that, you know, that was in the military. So Air Force was scaling down, so they were offering people money to leave early, and that's what I opted for. And also there was a big chance that I wouldn't get re-enlisted, or they wouldn't let me re-up, or they would force me out, because I had some medical issues that kept me from being worldwide deployable. Like, you know, I could go to some places, but I wouldn't be able to go to anywhere where, you know, there's a war or something. So which to me that was good, because I wouldn't go to any place that kind of suck. But I really hated, because then I didn't get to do like my job, because like I really enjoy the whole soldiering aspect of the military. But that was it. And then we decided that we were going to get married. We decided that we were going to move to Thailand. She was doing very well over here. She had found a really good job. She was moving very, very quickly as a career woman. She was doing very well. So we decided that, hey, let's take that early retirement. Let's come over here to live in Thailand, because like, had I decided to go and live somewhere else, that means I would have to go and get a job, and would have to go and, you know, be on the corporate ladder, and like have to compete, and, you know, long hours at work. My wife would have long hours at work. So instead of doing that, why not just come over here, and where I can actually kind of have somewhat of an easy life compared to somewhere else. So that is the reason why I'm over here. And like now with kids, it makes it a lot more difficult if I want to go to United States or somewhere else, because I really want to see my kids grow up. Because like when I was in military, I had a lot of my friends who had kids, and I see how they were almost never home, like how the kids were being, you know, brought up by the mother, and how much work, how much of everything that the mother had to do. And I really didn't want that for us. I wanted to see my kids grow up. I wanted to be able to be there for birthdays, and, you know, first day of schools and that sort of stuff. And that what brought me here to Thailand. Well, I think I went a little bit too long on that particular topic. But now, what are the paperwork that you're gonna need in order for you to renew, or, you know, it's the same paperwork that you're gonna need for your marriage visa in Thailand. So the first thing, obviously, you need to be married to a Thai citizen. And if you are married to a Thai citizen, you're gonna need the marriage certificate. And you're gonna need to go to the city hall, and every year, this is something you have to do every year, and you could do it around 3 months before time, in which you go to the city hall, that you got some paper that says that you are still married, and you have to pay for that. I don't know what's the point of that if you have a marriage certificate, but you have to do that every year. You're also going to need 400,000 baht, which is roughly $12,000, $12,000 to $13,000 on a Thai bank, just sitting there. That needs, I think half of it have to be there for around 6 months out of the year, but it needs to be fully there 3 months before you start your whole paperwork process. You're also going to need to have like all the required paperwork that the immigration normally will give you, which is the application and everything else. It's a stack of paperwork around the stick. You're gonna need copies of every page on your passport. Make sure that you got a copy of the entry slip that you got when you first come in. Make sure you don't throw that away, because it's very difficult for them to find that. You're gonna have to renew it and pay money for that if you lost it. You have to have like the paper that says that, like, of where your residence. It's a white paper. It's also on it's always stamped to your passport. So you're gonna need to take pictures of you, like a minimum of 3 pictures of you and your family in your house, like in your bedroom, in your living room, outside your house. You're gonna need, like, it's a lot of pictures that you have to take. The more the better, actually. You're gonna need 2 passport pictures with the blue background. Let's see, what else you're gonna need. You're also gonna need a book. You're gonna need your book bank, copy of your book bank of the day, like showing that you have 400,000 baht there on the day that you actually apply for the paperwork. You also need to go to the bank and have them write you a letter saying that you do have an account there and you do have a certain amount of money there, which should be your 400,000 baht. You know, there's a whole list of paperwork that you have to do. I'm gonna have to double check it to make sure, but they were talking about still have to go and do a medical checkup, but I'm not sure if that's required now, because they were talking that you needed to do it for COVID checkup and stuff, but now it's not. I don't know, I have mixed information, so I'll find out that today when I arrive. That is basically the most of it. The issue is that it's just something that it takes a lot of time. You're gonna have to, everywhere you go, you're gonna have to sit and wait for an hour, half an hour, a minimum to an hour, and then you're gonna get the paperwork, and then you have to redo the same thing, same process every year. It's a good thing for me that my wife do most of the paperwork for me, and it makes it a little bit easier because she is accustomed to it, because she's been doing it for a few years now. But anyone who's going to do it for the first time, I strongly recommend go with an agency who's going to do all the paperwork for you, who's going to make things a little bit easier for you. I know it's going to cost you some money, but trust me, it gets a lot easier. And then once you've done it a couple of times and you know what you need in advance, now you could actually go and do it yourself and save yourself the money. But that's the one thing that I wish that it was different, because of the whole amount of time, because of all the paperwork, because of all the rules and regulations that changes constantly. It just leaves space for corruption, leaves space for people to do the wrong thing. Because like, I'm a law-abiding citizen, I have stake in the game over here in Thailand. I want to make sure that what I do is not going to create me problems. It makes it a lot more difficult. It's just punish people like me, in my opinion. That's how I look at it. But to someone else who is here, who's doing something illegal or, you know, in the gray zone, they really don't care. They'll just, you know, just do whatever it takes, and leave space for corruption. That's why that I wish it was simplified, you know, like like minimize the amount of paperwork that you have to do. Minimize, makes it something like an online application that you just do once, and then you just show up on the day of the appointment and take you 20 minutes. Oh, I forgot to mention, because of COVID, this process takes, you have to do this like 3 times now. Before, you only go there twice. Once you'll like give the paperwork to them, and then you have your interview on the same day, and then you will have to go back and get your stamp on your passport. But now, because of COVID, you have to do the strip twice or 3 times. One time to stop by just to drop all the paperwork, then I have to go and follow back for the interview, then I will have to go again for the stamp. Between the interview and for you to get your stamp, someone is going to go to your house, going to check around, going to go into your bedroom, which I found that very uncomfortable, to make sure that, you know, your house, you live where you say you live, that sort of stuff. Like I said, I've been here for 5 years. They've done it every year for the past 5 years. Why? You know where I live. You know everything that I do. Like, nothing has changed. My paperwork hasn't changed. Why not just see and be like, okay, I'm going to extend this for 5 years? Especially in a time with, you know, with COVID. I don't want just a complete stranger going to my house and walk around and talk and have interviews and do this, that, and the other. It just feels a little bit uncomfortable to me. Well, I'm gonna put the link of all the paperwork below. I'm gonna put the whole experience below. This vlog is definitely running way longer than I normally do my vlogs. I prefer for them to be 15 minutes, the longest, but unfortunately this is one of the very long ones. I think I went too long in telling the story how I managed, or how did I end up here in Thailand, how I managed to get here to Thailand. I don't think if that would be the right way to say it. How I end up here in Thailand. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Hit that bell icon so like this you're notified whenever I upload a new video. Sorry that I've talked too long. Sorry that this is a very long vlog. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.